Good day, Junior Tuckies. Today I'm going to be doing exam preparation. This lesson will cover the different types of sentences. As always, we need to ask ourselves, why do we have different sentence types? Firstly, it's to create rhythmic writing. Can you imagine anything as boring as having a simple sentence one after the other? Then it's also to keep the reader interested. Sentences that require a variation often repeat subjects, lengths, or types. Here are the 8 different types of sentences: a simple sentence, compound sentence, complex compound sentence, balanced sentence, interrupted sentence, periodic sentence, and a loose sentence. Let's get into different examples. As always, we need to ask ourselves, why do we have different sentence types? Firstly, it's to create rhythmic writing. Can you imagine anything as boring as having a simple sentence one after the other? Then it's also to keep the reader interested. Sentences that require a variation often repeat subjects, lengths, or types. Here are the 8 different types of sentences: a simple sentence, compound sentence, complex compound sentence, balanced sentence, interrupted sentence, periodic sentence, and a loose sentence. Let's get into different examples. Let's look at the first sentence, a simple sentence. As always, we need to ask ourselves, what is a simple sentence? A simple sentence has one independent clause. It can stand on its own, and that means it has a finite verb. Let's look at 2 examples. The boy played, the dog ran. Both of these sentences contain one independent or main clause. We can test this by using the rhyme SNT, or subject number tense. This helps us check if a sentence in fact does have a finite verb. Let's try it with the first sentence. The boy played. Is there a subject? Yes, the boy. Is there a number, meaning plural or singular? The boy is singular, therefore it does have a number. Does the sentence have a tense? Yes, played is in the past tense. Therefore, the finite verb in this sentence we will know is played. You can use this rhyme to check for any finite verb in any sentence. The second type of sentence we're going to look at is a compound sentence. What is a compound sentence? It is when 2 or more independent or main clauses are joined together with a coordinating conjunction. Let's have a look at an example. The boy played and the dog ran. Remember, you can use SNT to check for a finite verb. As a reminder, what is a coordinating conjunction? You can use the rhyme fan boys to remember the coordinating conjunctions. They are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Fanboys. Now let's look at our example. We can see that the dog played is an independent or main clause because it does have a subject, it does have a number, and it does have a tense. And it is joined together with a coordinating conjunction and. The boy ran is also an independent or main clause because it does have a subject, it does have a number, and it does have a tense. Therefore, combining these 2 parts of the sentence with the coordinating conjunction makes a compound sentence. Next up is the complex sentence. What is a complex sentence? A complex sentence contains one independent or main clause and one or more dependent or subordinate clause. There are many different types of dependent or subordinate clauses, but they cannot stand alone. Why cannot a dependent or subordinate clause stand alone? Because it does not have a finite verb. Let's look at our example. While in the park, the boy played. Now we can also use the SNT rhyme to decide which part of our sentence contains a finite verb and is therefore the independence or the main part of the sentence. Let's have a look at the example. Let's try the first part of the sentence, while in the park. Does it have a subject? No, while in the park has no subject. Does it have a number? No, we do not know how many subjects are in this particular part of the sentence. And does it have a tense? Yes, no, we could argue. But at the end of the day, we realize that the first part of the sentence is the dependent or subordinate clause. While the boy played, we know is an independence or main clause. By combining these two parts of the sentence, we create a complex sentence. Now we are going to look at a combination of the two, the complex compound sentence. What is a complex compound sentence? It is a combination of the previous two types of sentences. This sentence will contain one or more independent or main clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction, and it will have a dependent or a subordinate clause. Now that sounds like a long and winded definition. Let's look at the example. While in the park, the boy played and the dog ran. Once again, you can use the rhyme SNT to help you determine which part of the sentence is the independent or main clause and which part of the sentence is the dependent or the subordinate clause. Looking at this example, while in the park is our dependent or subordinate clause, coming together with our independent or main clause, the boy played, combining, joining with a coordinating conjunction of and, as well as the independent or main clause, the boy ran. We are combining all elements of the sentence to create a complex compound sentence. The balanced sentence. A balanced sentence is made up of two parts. You can think of it as an olden day scale. Each part is equal, not only in length, but in grammatical structure and meaning. So a sentence, each part of it, will be as long as one another. It will have the same grammatical structure, and that means that one part of the sentence is as equally as important as the other. If there are multiple parts of a balanced sentence, they are always separated by a semicolon, or they can be separated with a conjunction like as, but, or, and the list carries on. Since balanced sentences always have parallelism, it must mirror similar grammatical forms, structure, and word order. If you are trying to create a balanced sentence, always think to yourself what one part of the sentence is must mirror on the other side. This is in length, this is in structure, and this is in importance. Balanced sentence examples. This is a sentence from KFC's advertising slogan. Buy a bucket of chicken and have a barrel of fun. Do you see how and, our conjunction, is separating the two parts of the sentence? Buy a bucket of chicken is as equally as important as have a barrel of fun. It even has the same amount of words. Let's look at the second one. I came, I saw, and I conquered. Now I'm sure that you've heard some variation of that in your life. Each part of the sentence is as equally as important as the other. I came and I saw is separated by a conjunction and it is equally as important as I conquered. We are even using I in every part of the sentence. Let's look at the next example. The snow is white, grass is green. Now this example is separated by a semicolon. The snow is white is as equally as important as the grass is green. This sentence mirrors one another perfectly. Now let's look at the last example. The teacher was punished because he hit a student. Because is being used as our conjunction to separate the two parts of the sentence. He hits a student is as equally as important as the teacher was punished. The interrupted sentence. This particular sentence interrupts the flow of a sentence and is usually set off by commas, dashes, or parentheses. It can also be called an interrupter, an insertion, or a mid-sentence interruption. Let's look at an example from Elizabeth Bowen. Now, I chose this example because we often find interrupted sentences in literature. Remember, from the beginning of this PowerPoint, we use different types of sentences in order to keep our readers entertained. Let's have a look how this particular author did it. Below the moon, the houses opposite her window blazed back in transparent shadow, and something, was it a coin or a ring, glittered halfway across the chalk white street. Now, grade 10s, can you see that our interrupted part of the sentence is actually set off by dashes? Was it a coin or a ring? This takes our focus away from the sentence, but also can indicate that it's the author's internal thoughts. This is a literary device that can be often used to elevate your writing. The periodic sentence. This type of sentence is not grammatically complete before the end. This type of sentence has deliberately been structured in such a way that the main point is at the end of the sentence. A periodic sentence will have its main clause in the last part. Let's look at an example. Number 1. When I was shopping in town yesterday, I saw Mike. Do you see that the most important part of the sentence, or rather the main clause or the independent clause, is at the end of the sentence? Let's look at number 2. Despite the blinding snow, the freezing temperatures, and the heightened threat of attack from polar bears, the team continued. The team continued is our main clause or our independent clause. It is the most important part of the sentence. We often use periodic sentences to create emphasis in literary works. And finally, the loose sentence. A loose sentence can also be called a culminative sentence because it begins with a main or independent clause. It is followed by phrases or clauses that modify the main or independent clause. You can think of these as the adverbial phrase or the adjectival phrase, or even the adverbial clause and the adjectival clause. These phrases or clauses add more information about the main or independent clause. Let's look at number 1. I went to the movies yesterday, bought chocolates, and shopped at the mall. By using the rhyme SNT, we can determine that the main clause or the independent clause is I went to the movies yesterday. Let's look at the other parts of the sentence. Bought chocolates and shopped at the mall. By looking at previous videos, we know that bought chocolates and shopped at the mall tells us more about I. Therefore, this part of the sentence is called an adjectival phrase. Now let's look at number 2. I could tell my mother was upset from her tapping foot and her stern expression. By using the rhyme SNT, we will be able to determine that I could tell my mother was upset is the main or independent clause. From her tapping foot and her stern expression is telling us more about the mother. Therefore, that part of the sentence is an adjectival phrase. Let's look at the last example. You can pass all your classes with good study habits and good attendance. By using the rhyme SMT, we can determine you can pass all your classes is the main or independent clause. Do you see with here is not highlighted? I decided not to highlight that in the sentence because it does not form a part of the coordinating conjunctions. But from previous videos, you will know that with falls into subordinating conjunctions. Let's look at the rest of the sentence. With good study habits and good attendance, it is telling us more about how one can pass. Therefore, it is an adverbial phrase. That's it for today, Junior Tuckies. I hope this video helped you out. Next up is euphemistic language, denotation, and connotation.